Today, they still make the classic two-mantle lantern here in Wichita, Kansas, where it all began in 1901.
We can produce 1,500 lanterns a day in an 8-hour shift. It starts with coiled steel, where it's going to be stamped.
The steel is stamped into discs. Some will form the base of the lantern, and others the fuel tank, or what's called the fount. Then on a ram press, the discs get stamped into shape. Holes are cut into the founts, where the pump and valve will go. The pump barrel is inserted along with an air stem wire, which will keep the air separate from the fuel. The bottoms are crimped to the fuel tanks on this turntable, and then they head to the furnace, where they will be joined permanently.
We put copper rings anywhere where there'll be a seal or a metal-to-metal contact. We'll put either a ring or a paste that is 85% copper.
The founts pass through a curtain of fire on their way to the furnace.
It's about 2,100 degrees hot. It has no oxygen in there, so that what happens is it goes in and heats up to red hot, and that copper then just flows into those different joints.
The most important part of the lantern is the mantles, those small fabric sacks that emit an extremely bright light. The mantle has been around since the late 1800s.
The mantle is the light bulb for the lanterns, of course. It really is kind of a magic, as far as I'm concerned. What we're doing is we're taking a rayon and we're weaving that into a sock.
This knitting machine has 3 spools, 90 needles, and spins at about 500 revolutions a minute. In 8 hours, they can make 30,000 mantles here. The knitted mantle tubes are dunked in a vat, which contains, among other secret ingredients, a rare earth element called yttrium.
What's very interesting about that mantle is when you're burning it, you're not really burning anything to do with the rayon. All you're doing is you're lighting that mantle and just turning that into an ash. The heat from the mantle actually causes the rare earth items in there to glow. That white glow is your light bulb. That is what the lantern's all about.
The tubes are dried thoroughly and steamed flat. Then they're cut to length, hemmed, and drawstringed. Finally, they're stamped and packaged. Meanwhile, after the founts or fuel tanks emerge from the furnace, the check valves are put in. Check valves allow air to flow into the fount, but not back out, which is how you build pressure when you're pumping.
From there, we're going to do a 100% check to make sure that all the joining surfaces are sealed and that it is a pressure vessel.
The founts are submersed in water to check for any bubbling that would indicate a leak. Every hour, they take a few of the founts and destroy them to see just how much pressure they can withstand.
We're going to put it under pressure until it bursts and make sure that we have enough strength there in the steel and all the joints and everything are good before it moves on to the consumer.
Once they're pressure tight, the inner surfaces can be coated.
We're going to take an epoxy and we're going to mist the inside of the fount. What that does is we're going to coat all of the internal metal surfaces, and by doing that, it stops any corrosion.
Now they're ready for that classic Coleman green.
You know, that's a legacy that goes back forever. There's been a few different shades of green through the years, but it's always been Coleman green.
The founts are placed on hangers and enter the paint booth.
We're going to negatively charge the part, and the paint we're going to positively charge. Because you go through a booth where it's spraying out a fine mist of paint. That positively charged paint is going to be attracted to that negatively charged part, and that's going to bond to it and adhere to it.
Then it's up into the oven where the paint bakes on at 325 degrees for about 25 minutes. Now everything's ready for the assembly line, where the founts will finally meet their fuel trains, which convey pressurized fuel to the mantles.
We're going to crack open the check valve, then we're going to add a decal, and we're also going to put in the pump. We're going to add that fuel train, we're going to spin that into the top of the fount.
From there, they do one more dunk test to make sure the valve is pressure tight. The collars go on, the burner tubes, heat shields, and finally the glass globes, protected by styrofoam.
At the pack-out station, we'll be putting the lantern in the box, as well as instructions, mantles, the ventilator, and the bail assembly, and then closing that up and packing it out and shipping to the customer.